If you look back at that career trajectory, where do you think the learning curve was steepest, or you got some battle scars? It could have been the markets, it could have been the job at hand.
Yeah,
Do you look back and say those situations or years were challenging but rewarding?
I think it was probably two things. I mean, I would say that I would kind of, I was brought up in the commercial part, if you like. So I was doing negotiations and chartering. And I still remember the volatility of our market. The fact that markets will drop 50% overnight on your shift. That I still remember getting adapted to, like handling it without panicking and not getting, stomach pain for that swings. That was my first experience. And I think you have to go through it. And if it still hurts after, a period of time, you probably shouldn't go down that route. So that was one thing which I recall as being a big step. The other one was when I moved into executive management. So when I really became like a COO position and suddenly had responsibility for technical different things, I remember that, these are things that you can never really be prepared for. I mean, how do you prepare for a CEO position when you haven't been, right? So that step going into that world and trying to catch up fast and trying to, get sufficient knowledge to be able to help and guide your colleagues. I remember that as being pretty challenging.
So, but given that experience, and you ended up, as you said, on the top, so what is the thought process like when you're considering starting your own company, co-founding Hafnia, the founding story? Because for some people it has to be a bit difficult, because if you start a company in your 20s, no risk, you can just learn, adapt.
Yeah.
But once you're taking all those steps, like some people may think maybe it's not the right time to start something new. So how did that look? Was it an easy decision or something you have to contemplate a lot?
Yeah, so I've actually done a few, presentations for younger people in this context. How do you start and what's the reasoning? And I have a firm belief that every single individual has an element of entrepreneurship in he or her, for sure. It's just a matter of when it comes out. I did not consider myself as an entrepreneur, quite frankly, and I think I could have stayed within that organization until retirement, but it just came to me at some point, and I think it was back on experience, and you built some confidence. So it only got to me when I was like early 40s. For some people, it comes when they're 20, 25. So the advantage of it coming late was that we actually had a strong network and a track record, which I think makes it easier when you talk to investors and others. So, I mean, the reasoning behind was really that I think we came to a point in our professional lives where, we felt we could do better on our own. And there was a little bit about, are you getting sufficiently recognized as a team, as an organization for what you do? And at some point, I didn't feel that there was sufficient recognition for who actually builds companies. Capital is important, but the real value lies in your organization, right? That you build up and you create a culture. And I felt that we could do better. So that's kind of the combination of that we started Hafnia.
So there is a very famous quote that, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And listening to some of your talks before, preparation was a key part of actually starting it. You spent a lot of time on the drawing board, mapping out all the scenarios and what you were supposed to do. And I guess, maybe also especially relevant in shipping because it's capital intensive.
Yeah.
If it's just a smart app, maybe not necessary to spend a couple of years thinking through everything because iterations are so important regardless. But shipping and preparation, you can explain the thought process, but there's many good reasons to take a bit of time to really understand.
Yes, and I think that's a great point. And I mean, there were two key things that was very important, right? One is that I think a lot of people have great ideas, but a lot of people also think they can do it on their own, right? I always compare it a bit to like football, and I mean, we can stay in Norwegian terms, say like Holland, right? It's like those types that scores all the goals sometimes may have a tendency of thinking, I'm kind of, I'm the star here. We came with a team. And when we started this journey with Hafnia, we had already put a team together. And I remember the first investor meetings that we had with people that ended up supporting us. When we talked about it afterwards, they said, you were the only ones that came with a defined team, so we were comfortable that it wasn't just the head man person, and we came with our own analysis. So those two things, like we had done our own work to present the business plan, not just copy it from others, and we had a team. So you tick the two most important boxes for investors is that they have a track record, they brought a team, they thought about it, and they made their own analysis. Yeah. So those are three key elements